Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about some different ways that you can beat the summer heat. So there's a lot of photographers all over the country and all over the world that have to encounter extremely hot times of the year. And for the most part, those extremely hot times include weddings. So what are some different things that you can do to incorporate in your routine on these days where it's going to be extremely hot, just to make your clients a little bit more comfortable, maybe your bridal party a little bit more comfortable, and help out yourself a little bit more, just so you can successfully beat that heat and get the wedding done. So my first tip for you is a little bit obvious, but it's definitely super necessary if it's extremely hot, and that is to bring water and to stay hydrated. So normally before a wedding day, probably the full day before, if I see it's going to be extremely hot, I will drink water all throughout that day, just keeping myself super hydrated and ready to go. And then on the wedding day, I'll have water beforehand. I'll drink water throughout the day. The majority of the time, you'll notice that your bridal party wants to enjoy the party, and many times they start their morning drinking some alcohol, maybe mimosas, maybe shots. I don't know what they're drinking, but whatever they're drinking, sometimes it's not water. So it's important when you walk in just to remind people, hey, make sure you stay hydrated today. It's going to be a hot one. Another thing that I might do if I see extreme heat is I would plan indoor locations. So sometimes on a wedding day, if you have a time slot for your portraits at the heat of the day, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, while that sun is sky high, it is directly on the top of the sky, you want to make sure that your clients aren't the most uncomfortable. I would plan indoor locations if possible, or at least throw one in there. So maybe I wouldn't plan all of my locations indoors. I'll still give them a little bit of outdoor photos because many times that's what a lot of my clients really like. But I will try to be aware that planning an indoor location will help them in the long run, and at least we can do some of the photos in there, give them a little variety, but also get them a little AC. Another thing you could do to plan around your photo locations is something you can do prior to getting to the week of the wedding or the day of the wedding. It might be a few months back. Once you notice that you have clients in July, August, September, whenever it's super hot for you, those are just the months that it's mostly more hot here in Chicago, you could talk to your clients about planning the photo shoot at a different time of the day, maybe later in the afternoon, maybe closer to sunset. So this isn't too bad for most of us photographers. We love the golden hour. We love the time around sunset. So encourage your clients to go that direction, because if it is super hot that day, like 90 degrees at noon, maybe it'll be 85 or 80 degrees by sunset. It'll help your clients relax a little bit, be able to actually touch each other since it's their wedding day. But definitely, if you give them a few pointers and tell them why it might be helpful for them to do that, rather than doing the photos at the heat of the day, everything might go a little bit smoother. But asking a few months back when you're building the schedule might allow them to move their timeline a little bit and give you some room for some portraits. One thing that I also ask my clients, usually beforehand when we're building the schedule, is I'll ask them about wedding day transportation. This can be super helpful if you have an extremely hot day or really any kind of extreme weather on a particular wedding day. If they get some sort of a van or a bus before the wedding day and have that lined up for during the portrait session, that can really enhance the wedding day experience for the couple as well as the bridal party. It can make the experience just a little bit nicer if you have like a 95-degree day, is getting that transportation and just making sure that everything can run a little bit smoother. Obviously, it's totally out of your control whether this can actually be done or not, because the couple is the one that would have to provide that, and that could be a high-priced cost, $1,000, $1,500. So you can't necessarily force this into happening, but you can just give your suggestions. And sometimes if we relay that information to our couples and say, hey, this is why it might be of value to you, it will directly impact the photos, or it will directly impact how you feel on the wedding day. Sometimes just getting that information, people will realize, oh, maybe this isn't something that I can cut out. But again, we're flexible, we roll with it, but many times this is just something that I'll just let people know if I see that it's going to be in a time of the year where we could run into some heat, just to cover my bases. Another thing that I'll do on my wedding day, specifically in my schedule, is to plan rest times. So this is super helpful if you have maybe a 2 or a 3 hour portrait session with groups and you're going from place to place. Make sure that you are remembering that this is a wedding. This is a group of friends and family that are getting together to celebrate something that's going on. They're here to have fun. They're here to enjoy themselves. They're not here for you to torture them and make them sweat in the sun all day. So if you plan some rests throughout, it'll just make your life easier and their life easier. And many times people will just enjoy the experience a little bit more. Most of the time on really extreme temperature days, or if there's extreme weather at all, I know that at a moment's notice, if the bride says, that's it, we're done and we're gonna go back in and I've had it, or whatever the excuse, then that's it. So I walk into that situation knowing, okay, Michelle, get your head in the game. We're going in there. We're going to get as many photos as possible. We're going to be as efficient as possible because these people need to relax. If you go in with that mindset, you can definitely make time for them to rest, even if it's between locations for an extra 5 minutes longer in a bus or in some air conditioning, or you stop in at a Starbucks, wherever. Let the people rest and everything will go a little more smoothly. So this next tip is to bring a change of clothes. So this is always a good option to have if you run into any kind of extreme temperatures, if for some reason the clouds open and it starts to rain, whatever the case is, having a change of clothes in your car or in your bag might make your life a little bit more easy. On a wedding day, you are there for your couples. You're there to capture their wedding day, to capture their love, to capture their family and friends enjoying this amazing occasion. So anything that you can do to keep that in the forefront of your mind is really important, at least in my opinion. So I always bring a change of clothes if I see that there's going to be some sort of weird weather or it's going to fluctuate from maybe rain to sunny to rain again. I'll bring a change of shoes. I'll bring a change of clothes, just to make sure that I'm totally comfortable. This final tip for you is something that I just started doing and I absolutely love it. If I see that there's something going on that particular wedding day where there's extreme heat or there's bad weather or anything like that, I will actually contact someone to be a non-shooting assistant on that day, to carry my bags, to carry water, to carry umbrellas, carry whatever I need them to, just again so that I can keep my head in the game and make sure I'm getting the best images possible. So this is something that it might feel like an expense that you don't want to pay, but a small hourly rate for the portrait session, which is, maybe anywhere between 2 and 4 hours on a wedding day, that's probably something in your budget that you could handle if it will relieve your stress. Like I said, after 7 years, this season is the first time that I've ever done this, and I'm already loving it. I notice that my body feels better afterwards because I haven't been carrying all that extra equipment as long. I've noticed that my stress level feels so much better. Not only do I not have to worry about my equipment anymore and that there is someone standing next to me holding it, but sometimes just having another person there where you could just look at and you could just be like, oh, okay, how are we gonna do this? Or someone you could problem solve with just makes life so much more easier, and it has relieved my stress on these crazy days a little bit more. So I hope some of these tips helped you. I would love to hear if you have any other tips for me. I'm always looking for new ways to improve my routine when I get like a 95-degree wedding day, so I'd love to hear it. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.